Well, hello and welcome back to Shedland. So this video is just a story so far. I've decided that although I'm partway through this build, I've decided to attempt some video documentation of my PM Research number 4 steam engine build. But I've already made some parts, so I thought I'd just show those to you quickly, because this isn't going to be a very interesting video, and kind of bring us up to date. So let's start with this gentleman. The main frame, and so interesting part to make, large, but luckily the mill I have has the headroom to actually machine this, and I'm going to include some still pictures in this video to show you how I did that. I actually used an aluminum mandrel to hold the part upright and make a reference surface, and then I made some supports to support the legs so that when I machined those flat, those didn't vibrate. So that was the sequence, was to turn it this way up. You can't see the feet there, but machine those in the mill, and then I put it on the lathe on a faceplate and mounted the feet to a faceplate, and I was able to bore the inside diameter, machine this outside diameter, and machine this face, and then it went back to the mill having those reference surfaces, and I was able to drill and tap the holes this end, and the same for the feet. So I will add some pictures and I'll talk through that a little bit. Large lumper cast iron, relatively straightforward part actually. This was machined between the mill and the lathe, and so surfaces were made flat and parallel. The bore was actually done on the lathe using a large boring bar. And after that I actually learned how to bore holes using a boring head on the mill, and I used that to actually bore the valve guide, and then of course all of the holes drilled and tapped on the milling machine. And I think all these parts we can show in one go. We don't need to bore you all with these. These are all great pieces to make. You know, they have multitude features. So you have to go between the mill and the lathe to turn these to size and to drill the bolt patterns and to make the threads. The two most enjoyable pieces, probably these two, the piston and the eccentric. Nearly went for a Burton there. Just great exercises in precision and making different features, and thinking through the process to keep features square and parallel as necessary. And I always enjoy making eccentrics because you get to throw them completely off center in order to drill and ream the hole and then face them to size. And this is the valve. Now I've actually made a design change to this valve. I'm going to attach it in a different way to the valve rod, and I'll get into that when we get closer. But based on some comments I received on a model engineering forum, I'm going to change the linkage a bit, and that's going to make the engine a little easier to adjust when I get to assembly, but we'll go into that later. And then here we have the base and the crankshaft bearings. Base is a relatively simple part. I mean, that's just a matter of facing the bottom of it and the top parallel, and then machining in these bolt patterns. The bearings were a much more interesting exercise, and I wish I had video of that, honestly, because after making a complete hash of the similar feature on the PMR1, I learned my lesson there, and these are split dead on the center line. These have come out really well, and I've got some custom made studs and nuts for these. These are not the custom nuts on top, I haven't made those yet, but this has all come out very accurately, and so I'm very happy with this part. So I'm looking forward to progressing the engine and getting it built, and I'll probably throw in a few still shots of the process for that. Last but not least is where we are today, and this is the connecting rod. As you can see, I've machined these faces, same the other side, and all I've done so far is get these to thickness and get these central to each other. So one of the many things I've learned from Joe Pye is to really understand the casting before you start cutting it, understand where your machining stock is and what exactly it is you have to do and where you hold it. And these are within 5/10 of the called out dimension, so I'm very happy about that. But not only that, they are just in line. So next stage is to put a hole through here, but that's going to be interesting because I'm really keen to keep features central on their part, and so I want the through hole to be central to this face. But if you look here, you can see that the split lane on the casting has an offset, so whichever side I choose to be central is not going to make the bore central to the other side. But I think what I can do is clean this side up and kind of blend it in and make the best of both worlds. So I think what I'm going to do is choose this face, get the through hole central to that, and then I will dress this cast surface up to make it look as nice as possible, and from there I'll locate the features the other end. Get a pilot bore in, undersize, to fixture and locate it, and then we can split this bearing and finish machining it. So a little bit of work to do there yet, and that's going to be the first video that I shoot where I actually record the machining, so that's nerve-wracking. Anyway, that very brief introduction just brings you up to speed on where I am on this engine. So from now on I'm going to film the process of making parts and putting it together, and we'll see how that goes. I do not pretend to be an expert machinist, far from it. That's definitely not what I am. I'm an amateur, but boy, I really enjoy doing it. So if anyone wants to follow along, that'd be welcome, and we'll see where we get this engine to. So anyway, thanks for watching this, and more soon. So bye bye from Shedland for now.